I'm Trent.
And I'm Brooklyn.
And this is the South Marshall Minute. Today for lunch we are having beef nachos with queso or chicken fajita. Tomorrow for breakfast is bacon, eggs, and toast. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make sure to buy a yearbook.
This past weekend's birthdays were Riley Darty, Dawson Cadix, Kaylee Free, Carter Mayo, and Riley Johnston.
Make sure to go to Miss Chambers' room for your birthday sticker.
Now to Kinsey with the weather.
By the time you're watching this, it'll be 85 and sunny, and by the time you get out of school, it'll be 92 and sunny. Now to Brooklyn and Trent with the news.
Tryouts for academic team is this Thursday after school until 4 o'clock.
Now to the interviews explaining academic team.
I'm here with Miss Darnell about academic team. Can you tell us more about academic team?
Sure. So let's see. I have not been an academic team coach for a few years, but I was coach for 7 years. I was an academic team coach for the elementary schools and at Old South, and then the first couple years here. And basically it's just a way for kids to come together and use their knowledge as like a competition. So we go up against other schools, and you have your quick recall matches where people buzz in and want to answer the questions first, kind of like Jeopardy. And then you also have the option to just take the academic assessments for like writing and science and math. So if you're not so comfortable sitting at a table in front of people buzzing in to answer a question, you can just take the academic assessments and move on to state that way. So it's just a fun way for kids who enjoy learning, who just know a lot of random, interesting facts, to use that knowledge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Report cards are going to be out soon, and Beta Club is also starting their membership drive soon.
Beta Club is an organization that promotes academic achievement, character, leadership, and service.
You need to have all A's or B's in your classes to be eligible.
Any student that is not already part of the Beta Club and wants to join, you can attend an informational meeting with Ms. Rogers next week.
Ask Ms. Rogers with any questions you have.
It's Hispanic Heritage Month. Each day we are going to watch a video about a Spanish-speaking country.
Today is Spain.
Good morning, everyone. Hispanic Heritage Month began on September 15th, and to celebrate, I thought it would be fun to teach you all about some different cultures from around the world. There are roughly 21 countries with Spanish as their official language, so we're going to spend the next 2 weeks exploring some of them, beginning with Spain. Does anyone know why we're beginning in Spain? Teachers, if you want to pause the video here for guesses, that's fine. So why are we starting in Spain? It's because this is the birthplace of Spanish language and culture. I mean, it was literally the first place in the world that ever spoke Spanish, and therefore has influenced all other Spanish-speaking countries in many ways, both in language and a bit in culture. Spain is on what's called the Iberian Peninsula at the very western edge of the European continent. It shares its borders with Portugal to the west and France to the northeast. It has 13 autonomous communities which answer to its capital, Madrid. Now let's check out some Spanish landscapes. These are called steppes. They were used by shepherds to feed their sheep and cattle during the time of ancient Romans and into the medieval period. Here is a view from a park just outside of Madrid. Look at those snow-capped mountains in the distance. They're not very tall, are they? And this last picture shows the middle of Spain on the way from Madrid to Segovia. It's pretty dry and flat in the middle of Spain, although in this picture you can see some hills. It's so dry, in fact, that its capital hardly sees any real precipitation throughout the year. Now let's check out some beaches. The two smaller pictures were taken about 2 hours outside of Barcelona in a tiny town called Roc de Sant Gaixa. The cliffs you see in these two pictures drop off into the Mediterranean Sea. That beach is in between Barcelona and the small town. The bottom picture shows Malaga near the port, also on the Mediterranean, but in a totally different location. The main cities in Spain are all over the map. Barcelona is to the southeast. Madrid is just about dead center. Malaga is near the southern tip of the country. Sevilla is also part of the south. And Valladolid is in the Midwest. All of these cities have a rich history that differ greatly from each other. Now let's check out some Spanish architecture. The Basilica de San Juan de Baños is one of the very first Christian churches ever built in Spain. Inside, it's held up by pillars gathered from Roman ruins. Segovia is a very old city that's still guarded by an ancient Roman aqueduct. The aqueduct used to carry water to cities and villages when they needed it, including Segovia. It used no motor to pump the water, and they built it with no mortar between the bricks. The huge bricks are stacked perfectly so that they are still standing today, although the aqueduct isn't usable. Bilbao is a major city in the north of Spain known for its steel. Notice the old building contrasted against the newer ones. Cordoba is also an old city that housed both Muslims and Catholics as it was getting started. It is situated in the south of the nation, close to Sevilla. Notice the roundness of that bridge. How cool is that? Spain was founded by many cultures, but the main three are the Romans, the Visigoths, and the Muslims that came north from North Africa. In fact, the Romans are responsible for the naming of Spain. They called the region Hispania, which later became España, like you saw at the beginning of the presentation. The Visigoths furthered the Spanish culture, and it was them who built the church you saw in the previous slide. The Muslims from North Africa also greatly influenced not only Spanish culture, but the language as well. Many sounds you hear in Spanish are a direct result of their speech patterns, like the J that sounds like an H. Now let's have a look at traditional Spanish clothing. Look at that man's outfit. He might be off to a bullfight. The women in the bottom left are from the south of Spain and are on their way to participate in a festival. The woman with the fan is dressed like a flamenco dancer. Flamenco is a traditional type of music, dance, and fashion in much of the country. Here are some more modern outfits. They look a lot different from the traditional outfits, don't they? And also different from what we wear typically here in the United States. The music of Spain can be traced back to its foundation with roots in Roman heritage and Muslim sounds. Most people think of flamenco or classical guitar when they think of Spanish music, just like what you heard at the beginning of this presentation. But Spain is responsible for so many artists like Alejandro Sanz there at the bottom, Enrique Iglesias, and Rosalía at the top. There are a ton of artists that originated in Spain as well, but I'm only going to show you two of them here. Salvador Dali was an artist during the early 1900s who helped begin Surrealism, or paintings based on dreams. Francisco de Goya was active in the 1800s and was one of the most influential painters ever to exist. In fact, he influenced Dali to paint some of his more darker works. Now let's talk about a couple of the most famous writers of the country. Miguel De Cervantes is Spain's most famous author, and he wrote Don Quixote, a story about a crazy knight chasing after his love. Mercè Rodoreda wrote during the dictatorship of Francisco Franco about daily life in Barcelona and the region of Catalonia. Her stories are about strong women, but they're also pretty sad. And last but not least, we'll cover 3 popular foods from Spain. The first is paella. Paella is a rice dish served in more ways than you can count. Sometimes it's made with chicken and chorizo. Other times it's chock full of clams, shrimp, and other seafood. Bocadillos look like sandwiches, but they aren't. They are usually made with ham that has never been cooked and aged sheep cheese, or jamón y queso. In the South, they serve it with tomatoes and olive oil. Gazpacho is a cold vegetable soup, usually served before a meal like an appetizer. It's really popular during the summertime. Thank you all for traveling with me to Spain so that I could show you some of my favorite things about the country. Tomorrow, we're going to travel around the globe and head to Mexico. Have a great day.
Have a marvelous Monday.